expect you to remain silent when the speaker is on the stage.
Check.
And please do not be silent when there is nobody on stage. Please make use of this time to interact and talk to people, connect to people. And when the speaker is on the stage, we will observe utmost silence. Are everybody with me? A cheer, a little louder, please. Thank you. We will now move on. Okay. As a Gen Z, as at least somebody who is tagged to be somebody belongs to Gen Z, I'm often pointed out by my parents about me being very detached from my roots, the spiritual and religious learning. I feel a major reason behind this is distance between today's generation and the learning is because we fail to understand and acknowledge their influence on the modern day applications, technology and everything in our vicinity. Our next speaker will enlighten us about this extreme important subject today. Introducing you to the third speaker, Mr. Rahul Singh, is a banker by day and writer by night, an expert at connecting three I's, ideas, insights, and individuals, who sums up his life as ABC, author, banker, and community builder. With an illustrious career in banking, Mr. Rahul holds the position of Assistant Director of Global Marketing and Strategy at Nanyang Technological University, Singapore, Principal of the Corporate Advisory Group at the Indian Institute of Management, Udaipur, and Academic Counselor member of Jaipura Institute of Management. He advises companies and startups on their ESG, environment, social, and corporate governance journey towards sustainable development goals, and has advocated for the inclusion of conscious capitalism and ESG in universities' curricula. Mr. Rahul has authored several books, including You Know the Glory, Not the Story, Engineering to Ikigai. An atheist gets the Gita. An inspiring personality and thought leader regularly speaks on topics that concern millennials, such as careers in the 21st century, conscious capitalism, and cross-cultural understanding. Give a big round of applause to our third speaker, Mr. Rahul Singh.
Sure. Good morning. Lovely to be here in Hyderabad. This is my first time in Telangana. It's an honor to be at HITAM. So let's begin. My topic is ancient wisdom in equations. This is an engineering institute. I thought I will put the wisdom in equations that we are all familiar with. So with that, infinity, I'll take a take on what India talks about infinity. And what better way to do that than the Bhagavad Gita, which is a timeless piece of knowledge and wisdom in this country. Just when I was coming through the gates of the university, I saw a message. It says, Sate Hitam Satyam. One that leads to truth is the truth. So we'll explore some truths from our own scriptures. Let's begin that. So let's begin with talking about what the Bhagavad Gita is. Now, there are many ways of looking at the Bhagavad Gita. The way I like to look at Bhagavad Gita is the following. Bhagavad Gita is an instruction manual. When you buy something from the market, you get an instruction manual. You buy a washing machine, you buy a dishwasher, you buy a microwave, you get an instruction manual. But when you came to this planet, when you came to Earth, did you get an instruction manual? Anybody here got an instruction manual? Raise your hand. You came with an instruction manual? No, right? So the Bhagavad Gita is actually an instruction manual that tells you how to lead your life. How does it do so? It essentially talks about 5 things which are on my slide. It tells you how a jiva is living entity, you and I, how we interact with Prakriti. Prakriti is all the nature that you see around us. Where is this interaction happening? In Kala or time. And how is this interaction happening? This interaction is governed by the laws of karma, which are designed by Ishvara or Supreme Controller. So let me repeat. Bhagavad Gita is an instruction manual that tells you how a jiva, living entity, interacts with material world, which is Prakriti, in Kala, in time, governed by the laws of karma, which are designed by Ishvara or the Supreme Controller. That's the definition of Bhagavad Gita as per what I have understood. Now, the beauty of this is that each of these 5 concepts, whether it's Ishvara, Kala, Jiva, Karma, or Prakriti, they are infinite. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. Let me begin with time first. So we all know that the universe okay. Can we go to the previous one? Okay. Right. So as per the Big Bang theory, the universe was created 13.7 billion years ago. And time is linear as per the Big Bang theory. But in our Indian system, we consider time to be circular. It comes and gets destroyed and creates itself again. Now I'll talk a little bit about that. So this is a quote by Oppenheimer. He talks about how Kala is death itself. We also, in Hindi or in Sanskrit, we have this word Kal, which is basically death. But it's also time, because time destroys everything. And Einstein has something similar to say about it. He says that time is what prevents everything from happening at once. If there is no time, everything is going to happen at the same point. So time is what creates distance between 2 epochs happening. This scale I have borrowed from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 11, where it talks about the smallest to the biggest unit of time. Now we will focus on the biggest unit of time. So biggest unit of time, let's talk about some of these units of time. So we know that in our Indian system, we talk about the cycle of time. We talk about the Satyug, we talk about the Treta Yuga, we talk about the Dwapar Yuga, and we talk about the Kali Yuga. These are in the ratio of 4:3:2:1. So the smallest of these is Kali Yuga. Now how big is Kali Yuga? Let's think about that. So Kali Yuga is equal to 1200 Divya years, 1200 godly years. One godly day is equal to 1 year of human. So now let's do some math. So in one Kali Yuga, you have 1000 years of Devas, plus another 100 on the top and another 100 at the bottom, which is called Sandhya, the transition period. So in all, you have 1200 years of gods, Devas, demigods, that are there in one Kali Yuga. Now, if you have to translate that into human language, then you have to multiply or scale that with 360, because as I said, 1 day of Deva is equal to 1 year of human, so you multiply that by 360. So you will get a number which is 432,000, nearly 500,000. That's the duration of one Kali Yuga. As I said, the entire Satyug, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, and the Kali Yuga together is in the ratio of 4:3:2:1. When you sum up all this, 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1, you get 10. So you have to scale that by 10 if you want to know what is the duration of the entire Yuga cycle, which is also called Mahayuga. So you will get 4.32 million years. That is the duration of one Mahayuga or one Yuga cycle, as we say. Now the interesting thing here is that in a day of Brahma, Brahma is the creator of the universe. So in the day of Brahma, you actually have 1,000 such cycles that are repeated. So if you scale that again by 1,000, you get 4.32 billion years. And Brahma has equal duration for night. So if you just double that, you will get 8.64. That is 8.64 billion years is the duration of 1 day of Brahma, which comprises of day and night, basically night and day. So in the day, the universe is being created. In the night, the universe is being destroyed. That's the idea. What's the modern time frame of universe? 13.7 billion years. Look at how close 8.64 comes to that. And that is when the universe gets created and destroyed. That is a day of Brahma, just a day of Brahma. And then Brahma, like all of us, lives 100 years. That's the assumption. Each year has 12 months. Each of those months have 30 days. So if you keep scaling this up, you will get the lifespan of Brahma himself. Right? Now the interesting thing is that this lifespan of Brahma is considered to be 1 nimisha. 1 nimisha is smaller than a second. 1 nimisha of Vishnu. So the idea is that Vishnu is lying on an eternal ocean. He is breathing in and breathing out. Every time he breathes out, millions and millions of universes are created, every time he breathes in, millions and millions of universes are destroyed. And in that 1 second of Vishnu, or 1 nimesha of Vishnu, the entire life cycle of Brahma disappears. Right? That's the scale of time. And as you can see, it's cyclical. Destroys, creates, destroys, creates. So the time is infinite in the Indian scripture system. That's Vishnu there. Okay. To illustrate this point, there is a very beautiful Purana. It's called Brahma Vaivatra Puran. In that, there is a story of Indra and the ant. So who is Indra? Indra is essentially the ruler of Swarga, which is basically a heavenly planet. Now, in 1 day of Brahma, as I mentioned, there are 1,000 of the Mahayuga cycles that change. Now, these 1,000 cycles are divided into 14 Manvantara. Manvantara means Manu. Manu is the progenitor of humanity. Antara means difference. In basically saying the duration in which Manu dies. So there are 14 Manus that die in 1 day of Brahma. 14 times Manu gets changed, and also on Swarg, 14 times Indra gets changed. So Indra is a position, just like Prime Minister. It's not name of a guy. It's a position. Brahma is also a position. So it so happens that Indra, he in his hubris tells Vishwakarma. Vishwakarma is the person who is a celestial architect, to create a palace for Indra. And every time Vishwakarma comes and tells Indra that this is what I have done, Indra is never happy. Indra says, okay, build more. Elaborate this, make some changes here, make some changes there. Now, after a time, Vishwakarma gets tired of this. So what do you do when your boss is not happy with you? You go to your boss's boss. So who is the boss of Indra? Brahma. So Vishwakarma goes to Brahma. Now Brahma doesn't know what to do, so he goes to his boss. His boss is Mahavishnu. So he talks to Mahavishnu and they come up with a solution. And basically, he's assured that this will be taken care of. So the next day, in Indra's Swarg, a Brahmin boy who is blue in color appears at the gate of the heaven. And Atitho Devo Bhava in our country, in India. So Indra invites this Brahmin boy to come inside the palace. And there, they have a discussion. Previous slide, please. So they have a discussion with this Brahmin boy. And in that discussion, the Brahmin boy, basically Indra is asking the Brahmin boy, where are you from? Why have you come here? So the boy replies that I know your father, who is Prajapati Kashyap. I also know your grandfather, who is Marichi, who is begotten of Brahma. And Brahma himself is begotten of Mahavishnu. So hearing this, Indra gets surprised. Who is this guy and how does he know so much? And that's when Indra's ego gets slightly shaken up. And just when they were having this conversation, a parade of ants comes through the heaven. And looking at that, this Brahmin boy starts smiling. And Indra asks him, why are you smiling? And the Brahmin boy tells him that, you know, Indra, all these ants that you're seeing, they were all Indras at some point in time. Through their karma, they got the seat of Indra. And once they become Indra, hubris or ego or arrogance takes over, and down they fall and become ant. So hearing that, Indra realized that no matter how grand he wants to make his palace, it will never be as grand as he wants, one. And number two, it will never be eternal because everything gets destroyed. So that day, he realized that, and he sets Vishwakarma free of his objective of building a grand celestial palace. He rewards them and moves on. So the idea here is that time is infinite, time is very long in our Indian scriptural system. Next one, please. So as I mentioned, that Indra realizes through karma you can go up and you can go down. So what is karma to begin with? Now our rudimentary understanding of karma is that if you do good, good is going to happen to you. If you do bad, bad is going to happen to you, which is not incorrect. That is right. But let's discuss slightly more further. Let's have a slightly more nuanced understanding of what karma is. So remember the 5 things I talked about? So I talked about Jiva, Prakriti, Ishvara, Kala. So Jiva is life, and according to Indian system, we have 8.6 million life forms, not life forms. And those life forms have infinite number of living beings in them. So even the number of life forms are infinite. Which body you take depends on your karma. And this cycle continues indefinitely unless you do something about it. So what is that unless? We'll talk about it. So essentially, when the jiva, which is basically a living entity, it comes in the material world, it becomes an embodied soul. So soul is free, it takes body, it becomes embodied. The moment it does that, at the beginning of the game, your karma score is 0. And in our Indian system, the idea of this life is to get out of cycle of birth and death because it's very painful to be in these cycles. So how do you get out of it? You can get out of it if your score is back to 0. Rule of the game is very simple, but very hard to play, just like chess. You came up with a score of 0, you can leave when the score is back to 0. Just one problem. Anything you do, anything you think, any action you take will have karma to it. Once you have karma, you will have to take birth again and again and again to taste the fruit of that karma. And that's where the cycle continues. This cycle is called samsara. Life after death continues through your own karma. Karma is like the oil that you put in the car and the car keeps moving in. But that's not the objective. The objective is to get out of it. So how do you get out of it? So let's look at this equation. So we all understand how banks work. So most of you will be graduating soon. You will be going to work. On day 1, the amount of wealth you have is 0. After 1 month, you get some salary. That salary enables you to have some expenses and some savings. So whatever you don't spend, that becomes your saving. That becomes your collective wealth after 1 month. Next month, you again get your salary. You will have some expenses that will be taken out. And whatever remains gets added on to your wealth. Karma is like that as well. There is something called sanchit. Sanchit means to collect. Your collective karma is the leftover of whatever karma you have accumulated so far. It's like wealth. So every action you do is like your salary. You get that credited into your bank account. And every result or every fruit that you get is like destiny or is like the expense that comes out from your every monthly salary that you get. So let me recap. Sanchit is the sum total of what you have today, which is your current wealth. The current wealth is equal to your wealth yesterday, plus the new salary you get today, minus the expenses. Now, if we translate that into the karma equation, your sanchit, your collective karma today, is equal to your collective karma yesterday, plus the new karma that you will do today, which is called kriya man karma, the karma that comes from your kriya or from your action, minus the prarabdha, which is basically your destiny. Destiny is nothing but fruitification of the karma fruits that are due in this lifetime. So that's how the equation works. Simple thing that you need to do is to make that equation 0. That equation on top has to be 0, because when you come here on day 1, it's 0. You can leave, you can get moksha if that equation is back to 0. Just one problem. Every karma you do has a consequence. And yes, if you do good things will happen to you. If you do bad things will happen to you. But regardless, these are like chains, right? And your idea is to get out of this cycle of birth and death. So one is a golden chain. If you do good things are going to happen to you, sukarma. If you do bad things, kukarma, then bad things are going to happen to you. That's like an iron chain, but nonetheless, these are chain. Your objective in life is to do akarma. That means to do your action in such a way that there is no result attributed to you. And that you can only do if you dissociate yourself from this feeling that I am the doer. You do your karma, but don't consider yourself as the doer. You attribute that to somebody else. And that brings me to the next point that I want to make, which is where does all this lead us to? So finally, this is my last but one slide where I'm going to talk about the happiness equation. So this happiness equation on the surface is very simple. And I will give you 3 levels of interpretation of this. So all this equation says is that you are happy if you attain more than your desire. For example, there are students in this classroom. Let's say you desired to have 80 in your exam, and by some fluke you got 90. Because you got more than you desired, you're going to be happy about it. But if you got 70, you're going to be sad about it. The key here is desire. You desire to get that 80. You set that for yourself. Against that benchmark, you can either exceed it or you can go below it. And depending on that, once you have fixed your desires, then basically whatever you attain will determine your happiness or lack thereof. it's good to set goals, but once you have set goals, then you have to bairag, you have to distance yourself from that, and you have to then focus on your abhyas, on your actions which lead you towards that goal. And don't be overly consumed by that goal. And that brings me to the second point of this equation, which is every single CEO who has ever fudged numbers, every single salesperson who has ever bribed, every single student who has ever cheated, has cheated because that desire took better of them. Desire became more important than the process itself. So, are you controlling your desire, or is your desire controlling you, is the key here. Because if your desire is controlling you, then you will do anything to reach that attainment that you want to have so that you are happy. And that anything sometimes may not be ethical. So this same happiness equation also becomes ethics equation if you look at it more closely. The last point I want to make here is, in our Eastern philosophies, we always tell about controlling the desire, whereas in the West, we always talk about attaining more, right? In the West, it's always about, can my plasma screen at my home be bigger? I have a small Maruti car, can it become a Mercedes? I travel economy class, can I travel business class? Because you're constantly running that hedonistic treadmill to be happy. Only one problem. What you attain is not in your control. N number of factors go into making sure that you attain what you desire. You may never attain what you desire. The only thing you can control is the desire. But again, easy to say, difficult to follow. It comes with a lot of practice. And that's my third point to you. If you want to be happy, there are only two ways. This equation has to be positive. You're all maths and science students, engineering students. Either you attain more than you desire. One problem, you can't control what you attain. Focus on the desire. I'm not saying not have goals. I'm saying have goals. But don't get so delusioned by that goal that you forget the very purpose for which you had set out those goals. Enjoy the journey. And don't be so fixated on the results or on the destination. And that's, by the way, Bhagavad Gita, verse 2.47. And that probably is the verse which you have seen many times before. So that, my dear friends, is ancient wisdom is in equations. Thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure to be speaking here. And most of what I spoke is in my book. So if you are interested, you can obviously have this book. I'll be signing some of the copies here. And next slide, please. If you want to connect to me, you can connect to me on LinkedIn. Thank you so much. Sure.
Thank you for your speech, sir. May I now request our registrar, Subramaniam sir, and Ashalata ma'am to kindly felicitate the speaker. Can we have a big round of applause, everyone?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. 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 We are talking about time, and look what I have. I have a calendar here. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.